Días, clase. Hoy vamos a aprender sobre el verbo ser. Say that with me. Ser. In English, the verb ser means to be. All right. The verb ser is used to describe origin as well as a variety of other aspects of people and things. Again, it describes origin, which is where something is from, personality, occupation, and other characteristics like physical characteristics, right? Tall, short, and beyond. In English, an example of the verb to be is I am from Caracas, Venezuela. So I am being the verb to be. Um, in this case, it's talking about where you're from. So again, the first use of ser that we're going to focus on is the bolded one here, which is our origin, where someone is from. Where are you from is the question form of to be for origin. And then finally, Maria is from Guatemala. Notice that every example is to be is followed by from. All right? Every example with the verb to be is followed by from. This word is actually called a preposition. I'm going to highlight that. I didn't plan for it originally. But again, a preposition from. Some examples. Juan is from Puerto Rico. Again, they say in the directions, underline the preposition. So I've underlined from. And then also circle the form of the verb to be. Is, am, are the three English forms. Again, is, am, and are the three English forms of the verb to be. One is from, I am from, you are from, right? Finish that practice for part A if you'd like. Back to the idea central though before we go forward. Second part, the subject and verb agreement is based on number and person. So not only is ser a verb, but it is a verb that must agree with our subject. Again, you see the change between Juan and I. Is agrees with Juan. You wouldn't say I is from. You say I am from. The same is true in Spanish. We want to make sure we get that agreement down in Spanish. Quick review. When we're talking about these new forms of the verb to be, we're talking about ser. What we're going to learn today is broken down into three categories. We have soy, eres, and es. We see here that these are all three singular, meaning all talking about one person. I, you, he, or she. When we're talking about more than one, that would be plural. We'll learn more about this as we go into the concept of ser for origins and other ways of using ser. But again, singular forms of ser, or when we're talking about one person, the first person form to talk about ourselves will be yo, soy, I am. Second person form to speak to someone about who you're talking to say you or y'all, it would be tú eres, just to say you are. Y finalmente, lastly, third person to speak about someone or something. We would say él es or ella es. Those are the three singular forms of the verb ser. Back to the top of this box. Again, ser means to be, or ser significa to be. And just like in English, as in English, we want to follow the form of to be with de. De means from. Let's go over two examples. Soy de Caracas, Venezuela. Es lo mismo que antes. It's the same as before, but in this case, we've omitted the pronoun because soy actually already means I am. We talked about this in our last lesson, but sometimes you can take out the pronouns and the verb forms mean the same. Next, de donde eres? Write this into your notes. Central question, very, very key for this first unit. We'll be doing some speaking with this question and beyond this question. Great foundation for some of your Spanish speaking. Very basic, but also very essential. As we go down below, we can see part B says, circle the form of ser in the following sentences. Then underline the preposition common to all of the forms. Okay. So again, as we see here, the preposition we're looking for from before would be de. Try to find that in each example. The first one, it says, ella es de Montevideo, Uruguay. Let's say that together. I'm going to say it one more time and give you a little time to practice. Ella es de Montevideo, Uruguay. Awesome. Good practice. Es is circled because it's our form of ser, and de is underlined because that's our preposition. That's telling where she is from. Okay. Yo soy de Phoenix, Arizona. If we look here, We see yo and soy match up, and then we underline de. Go forward looking for the forms of ser out of these three, and also the preposition de in each example. After you've wrapped up practice B, or if you want to push forward now with me, might be useful for you to now begin to distinguish how to make that match, right? Again, we don't want to be in the habit of saying, he am from Chile, right? We want to say, he is pero en español, right? We want to make sure our agreement is key. Our agreement is key. Subject-verb agreement is based on two aspects, number and person. So this first one, it says, choose the correct form of the verb ser in the following sentences. Isabel Allende, and we have three options, de Chile. So we could say, soy de Chile, eres de Chile, or es de Chile. Now the text is chosen es de Chile, and they've chosen correct because Isabel Allende is our subject. We know that we're talking about Isabel, which would make her third person, and we're also only talking about one person named Isabel Allende, so that's singular. The third singular form for the verb ser is es. So that is why we've chosen es in this case. We need to go through that same process for each of our subjects. Each of our subjects has a person. It's either talking about us, first person. It's either speaking directly to someone about them, second person, or it's speaking about someone or something. In each case, we can see here that same breakdown. Número 3. Fidel Castro, soy, eres, es de Cuba. In this case, we've done the same, but I've annotated. I would like you to go through, when you're doing part C, to annotate like I've annotated for each example. I put this 3/s to tell the person and the number. We're talking about one Fidel, so it's singular, S, and we're talking about him, which makes it third person. So we've used S here, and we wrote the 3/s because it's third person singular. Our subject here, Fidel, is third singular. Go through and do more of that same practice. Be aware that all of your annotations will not be the same, even though some will be more common than others. Finally, part D and E. Complete the following dialogue with soy, eres, and es. Now this is the same as what we did up above, and the annotation strategy that you used up here may be useful, but it's super essential that you realize that you're using a dialogue. Let's go over number 1 and number 2. Frida speaking, she says, David, ¿de dónde eres? De Honduras. So this is a little different, all right? This is a strategy where she's kind of picking and choosing which parts of the sentences she needs. But the interpretive part here says, ¿de dónde eres? We know that question is from before. Think about it for a second. Look back in your notes. Maybe about 5-10 more seconds to remember what that question means. I hope you realize that she's asking, David, where are you from? And then she says, de Honduras. She's saying, from Honduras? Are you from there? And he says, yo, no. And then we have a blank here. So what would go in that blank if David in the dialogue is answering her next? Think quickly. So I prepared to write on the line. Okay. So David's answering her. Yo is the subject, because he's already said I. He's talking about himself. If we're talking about ourselves, remember, about me, first person, second person, speaking directly to someone about that person, and then third person, speaking about someone or something. Since David's talking about himself, I hope you realize that on this line, we would have soy. As you go forward, he's still talking about himself, so I really want you to think about what goes on this line. He's telling her where he is from. What would go on this line if he's expressing where he is from himself? Go forward, underlining the subjects as you go. Now, you don't have to annotate, but I do want to see your rationale. I want you to go through and say, if Blanca is the subject here, then what would go in this blank? And if ella is the subject here, then what goes in the blank there? And then finally, what subject matches this blank? I want you to underline a subject for each blank. I'm going to type that in now just to make sure that there's clarity around those directions. But again, for part C or part D, underline a subject. If it helps you to annotate, Once you've identified the subject, then great. If not, push forward without the annotation. I think the annotation helps me in my explanation, which is what we'll be doing together in class as we go over this. Awesome. Finally, part E. What are the similarities in English and Spanish when describing where you are from? Think about that question and answer below. A lot of us did a really great job talking about what's implied, talking about what's different from English to Spanish. Make sure with these, even if the question's as simple as this one, you answer with a robust answer that talks about each language context, not just in Spanish and not just what won't make sense. Talk about the similarities. If you want to add in differences, that's great too, but the question is just asking about similarities between English and Spanish. So mention both in your response. Pues, buena suerte en esta tarea. Espero que hayas disfrutado este video y que aprendiste un poco sobre ser usado para los orígenes. But we'll see you in class, and I hope that this video has given you a leg up on what we'll be doing today.